The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer. Unlike myself, you will have nowhere to defect to.
This is the after-action report for the Mystery Ops Bailout Biathlon, one of the most unique and comprehensive shooting events in the nation. This event is basically 3 cross-country shooting events in one. As mentioned in the intro, there was a long-range rifle course, a carbine course, and a combined pistol/PCC course for a total of 10 miles and 12 shooting stages. After each separate course, the shooters end up back at their vehicle, where they can swap weapon systems and equipment and then head back out on an entirely new course tailored to that specific loadout. The overall concept for this event being this, an escalatory situation. Think, paratroopers landing while you're at work and having to carry out the fight, back to your vehicle with your concealed carry setup, and then grab your carbine and continue to fight the good fight against the commies, or something like that. Maybe even aliens. Side note, these alien targets are no joke. There's lots of empty space to miss. And then finally finishing off the retreating commies with your long-range rifle setup at some high-angle shooting across valleys and whatnot. Shooting competitions like this are more than just your local club event at the closest indoor-outdoor gun range. While those events are a great way to focus on a specific skill set, like pistol fundamentals, you're either focused solely on pistol or maybe carbine or maybe even long gun, and almost never on the combination of those weapon systems or any level of physical fitness at all. Whereas at events like these run and gun events are really a great way to test your overall combined skill set and test your level of fitness, which accounts for 40% of your overall score at this event. And these events also test your marksmanship plus your overall gear setup in a real world environment. There's no flat ranges here. This is not at a gun range. This is at the natural environment. It's the perfect trifecta in my opinion. You got fitness, marksmanship, and gear. An event like this can also test your grab and go setup. For me, these events are usually a minimum 24 hours or more commitment, overnight, often unassisted in primitive camping environments. So food, water, snivel gear, all of that's tied up into the overall attendance at these events. Was I able to leave my house with mostly everything I would need on short notice? What was I missing? What did I not need? All of these questions are kind of answered by attending an event like this, and they serve as a great dress rehearsal of sorts. Now, how does any of this relate to the real world and life in civilized society? Well, for most of us, it probably doesn't. At least not in the way this video might allude to. The probability of Russian paratroopers landing in Denver, Colorado is so extremely low that it might as well just be a pure fantasy scenario. But what about some other scenarios? How about natural disasters or times of civil unrest? Those scenarios are much more prevalent, and all of those scenarios there have been instances of widespread lawlessness and deliberate stand-down orders to first responders, leaving the local citizenry on their own. In fact, if you live in a major urban area in the past decade, I'd be willing to bet that something similar has happened in your region, even if all you did was sleep through it and were none the wiser with things being relatively calm in your immediate area. For me personally, I can think of at least 3 times in recent memory where having some level of preparedness and confidence has paid off. Even if it wasn't direct action Wolverine's moment that so many people on the internet seem to fantasize about, it's still good to be somewhat prepared and secure. Is lethality the only thing a concerned citizen should focus on? No, of course not. But you clicked on this video, so I'm assuming that's why you're watching. How you set up your priorities is up to you. So how does this style of shooting competition apply to the concerned citizen? Well, first and foremost is real-world fitness. 10 miles cross country, up and down hills, in ravines, through the woods, with your carbine and support equipment in tow is no joke, and for me it's a very rare opportunity. How far can you go with even a light load? How comfortable are you navigating terrain obstacles? What's a sustainable pace that you can maintain without draining yourself? And how much water do you actually need given the distance and the weather condition? All of those questions and more are answered at an event like this. Now sure, hiking or shooting is fairly accessible and can be done independent of one another, at least where I live it can be. Hike or jog with ammo, water, and rifle in the natural environment, and then occasionally get to actually send those rounds downrange in a totally natural shooting environment. This is not a gun range. Most targets are at unknown distances, and there are no berm backers here to give you instant feedback on missed shot correction. There's something about this that just you cannot really practice for without an event like this. Sure, you can practice most of those things in isolation, but putting them together is a skill set in its own right. Also, it should be noted that this is really not a training event. This is the event you should be training for. These events complete the feedback loop on how your training is going and where you're lacking. Not only does that feedback come from the final rankings relative to others, and of course the breakdown of shooting versus running, but it comes from your honest self-assessment and the humbleness to accept your own shortcomings. I always leave these events with things that I need to work on. Before we jump into the loadout breakdown, first be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. These are the only types of videos that I post on this channel, after action reports from some of the most unique and challenging shooting events in the country. But be sure to check out the catalog of events that I've been documenting after this video is over. I've got a bunch of videos there, go check them out. So now let's jump into the equipment that I use to complete this course. So like I mentioned before, there were 4 weapon systems involved. There was a pistol, bag gun, carbine, and a rifle, or long-range DMR. Keeping with the theme of this event, for the first 2 pistol stages, shooters had to be entirely concealed while on course, so you had to draw from concealed on stage. So I ran my outside the waistband concealed carry setup. It's a Glock 17 with an SRO, and it's inside of a T-Rex Arms iron side with a T-Rex Arms inner belt. I really like this combination, it's very comfortable. The draw is super smooth. Now in my pack I kept a bag gun, a 10-inch PSA AR9. Which is really just a range toy, but it's fun to test it out here at this event. After stage 2, I assembled this bag gun and slung it for a proper overt setup with slightly more elevated firepower than what my pistol is able to bring to the table. Also threw on a chest rig with spare 30-round Glock magazines. Moving on to my carbine setup, I ran my standard BCM KD4. It's a 16-inch carbine with a primary arms 2-10 on top. In my pack, I just ran some extra water and 4 extra rifle mags with 3 mags on my Spiritus chest rig, clipped to the pack harness, of course. Of course, this is too much ammo for just 4 carbine stages, but, you know, when the Russians are paratrooping into rural Colorado, bring more ammo. On to the long-range rifle. Now this is not my rifle. In fact, I've never even held this rifle until the morning of this event. This is a Daniel Defense 18-inch AR-10 in 6.5 Creedmoor with a 3-18 Trijicon Credo on top. This is actually the match director's rifle. He was gracious enough to let me shoot it and try it out on course. The first time I pulled the trigger on this rifle was at stage 1 of the rifle course. So I kind of had to learn this rifle on the fly at a competition. Perhaps it's not the best competition strategy, but when else do you get to actually try a rifle out like this in the real world? Now for the pack, I just ran my LBT Go pack with a bunch of ammo and water stuffed inside, and then I used a lightweight, unstuffed, uncompressed sleeping bag to take up the rest of the room. This makes shooting off the pack really great as it kind of molds to the environment super well. And I ran no chest rig, I just threw some spare mags in my pockets. So starting off after safety brief, the competitors drove their vehicles out to the bailout area, where they then got their time allotments. Headed out from the bailout area to pistol stage 1, pretty short jog, and then course of fire for stage 1 here was pretty straightforward. You draw from concealed, you have a variety of paper targets, then you had 2 steel targets to finish off on.
Thank you. You're beating out all the PCC guys.
Pistol Stage 2, shooters started from pretty far behind where the actual first targets are. You could not see any of these targets from the start. Again, drawing from concealed, you had a variety of Mozambique targets here.
Keep going.
And then here at the end, I actually had a massive fumble here, right? So I was burning this stage down until the very last target, last hit. And I actually went for a reload with bad equipment. I did not check my magazines properly, and I had a Glock 19 magazine sneak into my kit. As you can clearly see, 19 magazines do not fit in a 17. They just keep falling out, which caused me to have to take off my pack and quickly try to find a magazine in the back, which absolutely sunk my score on this stage. This is a great note. Check your gear. Make sure you don't have bad equipment mixed in there that is just not compatible. And when I got home, I purged all of my Glock 19 magazines from any of my kit. Went ahead and bagged them up and put them in the back of the safe.
65 I grabbed a 19 mag. I saw that. Oh. Wow. I don't know if you're clear to run hot or whatever.
So moving on to stage 3, course of fire. At this point in time, you could go completely overt. So I had my PCC out and assembled and ready to run. Then you had a variety of tiny steel targets here placed somewhat far. You had to run up the hill and engage multiple sets of these targets.
Clear. Good.
And then a really long leg here to pistol 4, which is the last pistol stage. This one you had to start off with a bow and arrow, reminiscent of that famous Red Dawn scene when they first engaged those communist lieutenants. I am terrible at bow. This is the first time I've ever actually even pulled the draw on a compound bow, obviously.
Dead Russian! You're good?
Okay. That's terrible.
Targets, one hitting.
And then you kind of double back all the way back to the parking lot where you can ditch your kit and kit up for the carbine stage. Now, full disclosure, I am running these synchronously in the video, but this is actually not the order in which I shot these events. So carbine I actually shot first, and pistol I actually shot last, with rifle, of course, being in the middle. So running on to the first carbine stage stage 1, a fairly straightforward fire in advance course of fire. Now the targets here were all these alien targets, which again, they have really big heads and tiny bodies and arms, so you have a lot of area to miss. And this was actually my first stage of the day, so I kind of had some, pre-stage jitters here. You can see I'm kind of too fast on the trigger, just being too anxious with starting shooting. It's something I've noticed that I do a lot, and it's one of the things that I need to work on and think about to do better for the next time I run a course.
Hit! 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 far forward. Hit! 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 Hey, oh, unload it, go clear.
On to stage 2, course of fire. This was a bunch of hidden paper targets in the wood line. Again, no hit factor scoring here. The RO is just making sure you actually hit the target, or if you advance past the target, then you got a failure to neutralize on that target. Really a great stage. I'd like to see more stages like this that are somewhat fast and close. And then moving on to stage 3. Stage 3 course of fire here was a variety of gongs, and then you had a bunch of silhouettes placed up in the hill. Now shooters could move around and take advantage of whatever they wanted to. Here on this course, there was no requirement to get into this position that I got into.
Hit! 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 2 hits on the silhouette.
Oh.
Hit! 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 Hit!
I had it backwards, didn't I?
Yeah, you did.
Oh well.
This was a great stage. As you can tell, I had my course briefing kind of backwards. I ended up giving the gongs 2 hits, and it was actually the other way around. Gongs were 1 hit, and silhouettes were 2 hits. And then a really cool segment of the course here that kind of took you down into a ravine, let you snake along this ravine a bit, and then push you back out on the road and on to stage 4.
5 targets?
5 targets, 20 feet.
Okay, yep.
Black target.
Carbine stage 4 was pretty cool. It took place in this tower here, and you had a series of hostage targets behind the actual targets you're supposed to neutralize. So they were placed in a way that if you missed a shot, you were going to hit a hostage target and take a massive penalty. Pretty cool. These targets were placed maybe at around 120 yards or so. They really weren't that far away.
I'll go right to left.
Good shit. That's the time I've seen so far.
And then off the shot timer, you had a bonus here. You get to throw an inert hand grenade into a bin, you know, kind of reminiscent of that Wolverines moment where they were throwing grenades to the top of APC open hatches. That's a heck of a throw, by the way, to actually make it into a hatch on an APC from the top of a ridge line. Way to go, Hollywood.
Nope. All right.
Hit a hostage.
And then you made your way back into the parking lot where you then got to kit back up, grab your DMR, and head out to the long-range rifle course. Headed out on the long-range rifle course, you run down this road and then you hit the Hill of Doom. Now the bottom of this hill to the top of this hill was about 700 feet of elevation gain. Seemed like it kind of went on forever, very rough going, a lot of loose rocks, and you know, it seemed to almost never end, especially when you're lugging a very heavy rifle up to the top. Of course, once you get to the top, you're treated to some of the best views in the hill country and a great place to shoot your rifle. Rifle stage 1 here was a series of bounding positions shooting off the edge of this hill down into the valley. Now again, remember, this is the first time I've ever even pulled the trigger on this rifle, and so I had a very hasty dope chart that I wrote down and taped to the stock based off of the rifle's owner's kestrel, and I was really just kind of building confidence here, which I kind of bought into, I guess, the internet lore around 6.5 Creedmoor cutting the wind so much that you don't really need to hold for wind. So it took me a little bit of adjustment here to actually start holding for the wind.
See?
Here.
Where at? Right there? Backer?
White backer, black target. Hit!
See?
Here.
Where at? Oh, see it. See?
Four positions right here. You should be able to see the target.
Where?
The orange flags are going to be right here. Follow the trail out.
Yep, I see an orange flag. See?
Clear.
Rifle stage 1 was really a fantastic rifle stage. I do somewhat reminisce on how would I have done with my carbine. I feel like I probably would have smoked this stage, but still super fun to get to run this new rifle. Very premium rifle. I very much like this rifle. Moving on to rifle 2. Now this was really just 2 positions and, you know, out to about 400, maybe 500 yards. And then the second position had really high angle shooting down into the valley. I did go ahead and laze these targets and pre-dial the optic. And I started off strong, first round impact, and I thought my confidence was like, fantastic, I'm gonna smoke this stage. And then I just kind of fell apart. I lost my confidence that I thought I was building in this weapon system. As you can see, you know, these targets have backers on them, right? It's to help them stand out without having the ROs go down range and have to paint them, which is a really cool idea. But sometimes when you miss, those backers kind of garble up where you actually missed on. You know, I think I was mostly high right here. I think there was a little bit of some windage calls in here that I needed to adjust for. And then ultimately I ended up timing out on this stage, and I ended up getting a lot of mirage going because I was really sending those rounds down range.
Load. Right. 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 Left edge. Left edge. Low. Okay.
Low right. Right. Low. Hit. 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 30 seconds.
C'est la vie, still having fun running this brand new platform. Moving on to stage 3 for rifle. Stage 3 for rifle was a single target. I believe it was like an 8-inch gong. Maybe it was a little bigger. I'm not really sure. Maybe the match director will chime in on that one. You only had to get one impact, but if you missed, you had to grab this pistol here, this staccato, and lay 5 rounds into this target, this pistol target close by. And then you could resume engaging the target.
How many hits?
5 shots.
Oh. That's 1.5 mils to the right.
And moving on to the final rifle stage, rifle stage 4. Rifle stage 4 was pretty long range. I think it was out 600, 700, 800, and then there was a bonus target at 850. And I think that bonus target was maybe a 12-inch gong.
So we're going at 700, 480. Right up to 800. How's the bolt looking? Good. 8.
Low.
The bonus target, you had 30 seconds from the time that you first started firing to actually get an impact, and I believe it subtracted some time from your overall score. This last stage here, I was finally feeling pretty confident with the weapon system here. As you can see, the dials were pretty much perfect. You know, I missed a winded shot there at 800, but no big deal. And then, of course, high wind swooped in for the bonus target. That's just kind of how it seems to always go. Still got the impact for the bonus target and moved on back to the bailout area.
Oh, geez. All right, I think I'm ready.
Stand by. Left. Right. All right. Hit.
Hey,
Well done.
look at that.
Very nice.
That's not totally accurate either.
Jesus, and you got to start shooting right when the wind just went berserk.
Yeah, it's good timing. Rifle, I don't know. Cool. Oh, I'm tired, guys.
Are you done?
Yeah.
Yeah?
That was it.
So final thoughts here. This is really a fantastic event. Getting this combined test of all of these different weapon systems, plus of course the physical excursion of doing 10 miles in the hills like this. You've got elevation gain and change. You've got all the variety of the terrain that it has to offer around target placement and trying to just acquire targets. Getting to laze targets, you know, off of a hill, all in one event just makes this one of the most unique and fantastic events out there that you could possibly attend. You know, you get the added bonus of getting to camp on site and getting to just kind of be outdoors like this. It's really a fantastic event. I would recommend that you definitely check it out. If you're interested in more events like this, be sure to check out the link in the description or go check out Mystery Ops directly. It's really a fantastic premier shooting events host here in Texas. As always, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and run, lift, and shoot. See you next time.